I am talking to Jonathan from Springate Mortgages. Hello, how are you doing, Jonathan? You all right?
I'm good, thanks, Jim. How you doing?
I am all right, not too bad. Getting through like life, like anybody, just one day at a time. That's what we're all doing, right?
Yeah, I know. I'd walked in the door a minute ago and I was just met with dinosaurs just roaring in my ears. Not
Oh,
real
okay.
ones, they're my kids, but yeah,
Right.
one day at a time is the right term, I think.
Very much so. That is pretty much the reality for anyone trying to do anything in this life is you've got to negotiate the dinosaurs and the Lego on the floor and all of those sort of things. So, Jonathan, we're not just here to talk about what you do as a business, but we're talking about kind of what you do as a business and your connection to Dad Soul and how it all merges in together because the kind of stories are a bit intertwined, right?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. So I'm a mortgage broker. I've been doing it for almost a decade now, which is pretty scary. And but January of last year, I started my own business, Springate Mortgages, and it was at the time where Dad Soul were doing that big crowdfunding where they had to get sort of 10 grand in X amount of time, and I made the decision that when my first bit of revenue came in for the company, which was £249, I donated it towards the crowdfunding. And I'd been involved in Dad Soul a couple of years by that point, and I was sort of watching this mad crowdfunding situation going on online, and people were donating from everywhere, and it was amazing. I remember just thinking, well, yesterday I had a business that made no money, so why does it matter if I can just move it a day but do some good? Then why not? So yeah, it's kind of the very first act of the company was for Dad Soul.
It was literally just after you'd got licensed, then, was it? Is that what it was?
Yeah, so I've done it for years, but when you go on your own, your company, your setup has to be signed off by the FCA. And there was a day I got the phone call saying that you can now trade. And I was in this limbo period where you're spinning plates, you're keeping clients happy, you're kind of getting things ready with the assumption that soon you're going to be able to submit some business. And as soon as I got the green light, a client paid a fee across, and as I say, just donated it to the cause that was going on at the time.
I mean, we really appreciate that. It's difficult to think of it now because of that, and then we've had some funding since then. It was very, very close to all finishing. We were really, really down to the wire in terms of Dad Soul at that point, and it's through amazing donations like that. Even the couple of quid that people put in, everything was just it came together. It showed a sort of real community spirit, and it's kept us going. And now we're expanding into other areas, and thank you very much for that. So I guess it's that kind of community. Was it that community spirit that brought you into Dad Soul in the first place before we started coming around with the cap in hand to beg some money off you?
Definitely wasn't begging, but I think the first I saw Dad Soul was in Brighton in the Plus X. It was a poster about play dates, and I think my first daughter was about 4 months old at the time, so it was a bit too young for it. But I'd never heard of it, and I'd seen this thing, and I thought, oh, I'll go along to that one day, like when my kid's older. And I never did, just never got around to it. And then I saw more and more stuff online. Once you see something, you see it everywhere. And I actually first went to the Dads Only events instead in Worthing, which are just brilliant. Like, they're just such a good idea. And it was that kind of really got me into it. I met a few people that were quite nice, had a laugh. It took me months to go back, just life schedules and stuff. And I'd say, maybe about two and a half years ago, I sort of started becoming a regular. Mostly the Dads Only ones. I have been to the kids ones a bit as well, which are great. And the community is excellent. I've met some such interesting people, and also when you hear the things that Dad Soul does on a daily basis for kids, for adults, for dads, it's just such a good thing.
It's really useful for people and really handy, and it's an important thing to have, and because you do get to meet all those people, and if you've got any issues, there's people who've been through it, and also you get to hang out with people who are from all sorts of different walks of life. So there's starting your business, going out on your own and doing that thing, and then there's people who are retired, people who haven't worked yet, and people who are just, it's like such a wide range of people. It's quite an amazing thing, really, isn't it?
I think it's brilliant. I mean, you hear about like that idea of like a third space. You know, you've got your workplace, you've got your home, and I mean, for a lot of people, they're now one space, and having that sort of place. People used to go to pubs or sports clubs, etc. And there's so many things that just don't exist anymore. So having this kind of almost youth club for dads, where you can just rock up with no expectations. You know, you don't have to know anyone, and you know, people will just be chatting. They'll welcome you in. You can make friends, and you know, it's one of those things that you kind of don't realize you need it till you go. And you're like, this is such a good thing. This is what every town needs, really. And I mean, I would love one day for there to be a Dad Lassalle in every town in the UK. It's a big ask, of course, but you know, it just can't be a bad thing.
No, exactly, and that's the thing. I would imagine the only downside maybe for you is you have one of those jobs. So I'm going to say like doctors, probably the same, where as soon as you tell people what you do, I imagine people are like, right, I am going to pump you for advice right now.
Yeah. So, can you look at this rash, please, doctor? That sort of thing. Yeah.
I would never admit, if I was a doctor, I would absolutely never admit it, because you would be looking at fungal feet infections till the cows come home. But I imagine as soon as people find out, especially in the last few years, you know, with our kind of interest rates going up and stuff like that, mortgage brokers will be prime for people to go, oh my God, I need some help. Help me out with this.
Yeah, it does happen. I mean, after the Liz Truss mini budget thing, drama, I went to a wedding like a week later, and I just told everyone I worked in IT, just because I just knew I wasn't going to be able to get away from it otherwise. But that's not the norm for me, because I do like to help people. But yeah, you are right. When I got into the job, I definitely didn't expect it. You mentioned what you do, and everyone's got a question here. Or, oh, is it possible? Or I want to move in a year. What should I do? And to be honest, I actually like that. You know, it's very rare that I'm like, oh God, give me a break. You know, I genuinely like. One of the big things I like about this job is that, you know, it is valuable to people, and it's kind of something that everyone needs. You know, there's other forms of advice like investments and stuff like that are not elitist, but you know, not everyone's got 100 grand to invest and things like that. Whereas actually everyone wants a home, everyone wants to be secure. It's their biggest outgoing. So they want to, you know, have it managed or have it as low as possible. So, you know, for me, I quite like that, you know, you're helping everyone with something quite important. So yeah, I don't mind too much.
So you have actually helped quite a few of the dadless soulies out, haven't you?
Yeah. I mean, I've probably spoken to 30 plus in terms of, you know, 5 minutes here, or, you know, they need a bit of guidance here. In terms of soulies that have actually I've sort of gone all the way and submitted business for, so that's whether I've helped them buy a property, help them move, remortgage, anything like that. Yeah, it's probably close to 20 now, maybe. Dads, you know, and families who have managed to help through the process. So, and that's been really good, because obviously Dad Lassalle is all about knowing people, meeting people, and you know, it's quite a personal service. You get to know quite a lot about someone, so it kind of speeds up that friendship element. So it definitely has helped me make even more friends in Dad Lassalle, as well as making sure they get a good service, and of course supporting my business, which I'm not going to sniff at.
Of course, yeah. I mean, if you can help people out and it helps you do what you do, that's absolutely fine. What are the sort of issues that people come with to you?
I had one dad from Dad Lassalle who had been for a pretty grueling custody battle, and it had affected his finances, it affected his credit score. He was pretty sure that it was going to be the sort of, you know, the quirky non-mainstream lenders that could help him, which would come with much higher interest rates. And actually, you know, sometimes I think people don't realize this nowadays, but sometimes there is that chance, if you pick the right lender and you have the right relationship, there is a chance to ring them up and say, look, here's someone with perfect credit other than this, but this happened because of this really important, in this case, quite noble thing. You know, can you take a view on it? And they did. And, you know, when we started chatting, I was thinking the rates were going to be kind of here, and they were actually, you know, a lot better. And, you know, that can make 2-3 grand a year of difference to someone, you know, which is so much money when you're a family, or when you've got a family. So, you know, things like that, that's a big one. Another dad who's has moved from overseas, so you know he's got a previous life there and a property. You know, he's not some sort of, you know, fancy person with lots of properties here and there, but you know he's got remnants of a previous life abroad, and he was gonna sleepwalk into a 20 grand extra stamp duty tax bill, and I just, so we're actually, if we reorder a few things here and there and do things in a different order, you can save that completely legitimately, refer them to a tax expert to sort of, back it all up. And I mean, that's huge. That's a huge amount, just sort of having the right conversation with the right person at the right time can make such a difference.
So this is all sort of information, I guess, you've gleaned over your years of working in that sort of area. And you sort of quite often act then as the sort of go-between. So you'll work with the client and then go to the mortgage company and have a word with them and try and sort of be in between them, so they don't, because that is, as someone who has no real input in the area apart from whenever I got my mortgage, whenever it was, I'd be like, oh, I don't really want to talk to a mortgage company because I think it's a bit us and them type of thing. So right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and talking direct to lenders, or if you are a customer, is pretty painful, in my opinion. What we'll do is we'll look at your situation, and what I'll do is I'll say, right, well, these are the lenders who are best for you. So it's a bit like I can work for every lender. I can access all their systems. If you go to one lender and they say no, people sometimes think it's just not possible. But actually, they said no, but every other lender views every single thing differently, whether it's your self-employment, whether it's your bad credit, whatever it is. So we'll work out who's best. We would apply. We would then liaise with the lender. We would make sure the valuation happens. I can liaise with the solicitor. I can help you arrange a survey. I can point in the direction of like tax advice in that stamp duty case. Everything really. I mean, I always feel like a good mortgage broker is like the project manager, really, that like a house purchase or a remortgage needs, really. Because there's nothing we won't get involved in, but essentially, we're kind of the middleman flying everywhere.
Good, which is good, because it is, in the 21st century, one of the most confusing and annoying processes that anyone could go through, and yet the majority of people have to go through it. And I don't understand it. I don't understand how it can still be so annoying.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, if you think the legal process to buy a property as well, that's even worse. It's archaic. It's so slow. It's so manual. And mortgages. I think the issue with mortgages, all lenders are so different. So getting AI to just, let's say, streamline the whole process, you're dealing with different companies who have completely different views on every single thing. So for now, I think I'm safe.
Yeah, absolutely. If anyone, like you are, I mean, in a way, you're the Chat GPT of mortgages, right? But you're actually a human. We put the information in and go, sort it out, please, Jonathan. You sort it out. You do it.
Well, I mean, yes, I've not been called that before, but and you're going to get accurate information. The thing about, we live in this world where automation and now AI are everywhere, but actually I think there is so much to be gained by talking to a person. The examples I gave a moment ago, people have their own preconceptions of what's possible, and then they might go down that route, so you kind of need a person to disrupt that sometimes. There's also just the effort involved. I mean, dealing with solicitors, dealing with lenders, dealing with all the paperwork and the back and forth, the time alone that you can take off of a family or a person to, to help them with that is I think just so important. We're all so busy. We haven't got the bandwidth, as people say, for all this sort of stuff these days. And just giving someone a nudge at the right time in the right place can make all the difference. And the Chat GPTs and the computers and stuff as well, you just end up with a worse outcome, if I'm being honest.
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. It's just some things that they just can't do. And you never, even if you did it, you just wouldn't be as sure. As that personal touch is so important in so many areas. And that particularly, I think, is one, as you say, it's your biggest outgoing, isn't it? And it's the most money you will ever spend on something in most people's lives anyway. You kind of want the reassurance of a person there who knows what they're talking about, and not just the Chat GPT that'll do something. Then you go, "Are you sure about that?" And it'll go, "Oh yeah, no, good point. That was wrong." You're like, "Well, why didn't you get it right the first time, Chat GPT?"
I mean, that is quite frustrating, isn't it? Exactly. It's such a personal thing, and it's one of those things that I think the relationship is so important as well. Once a client is known to me, and let's say my systems and myself know their particulars, I personally think that's where the real value is. It's almost invisible future value that you can't see. And what I mean by that is you might do a good job for someone now, but with all these rates going up and things like that, there was a dad. It actually was a dad Lassalle. I don't just have dads, of course, I have all people, but we're talking about dad Lassalle mostly. And he was just dragging his heels, if I'm being honest, faffing about, get me these documents, see how I'll do it tomorrow, get me these documents, see how I'll do it next week. The Iran war was about to kick off. The writing was on the wall in terms of what's going to happen to interest rates. We've seen it with Liz Truss and the mini budget and stuff like that. And I rang him and I just said, I told him off, basically. I said, get me A, B, and C today. I said, I need more, but if you get me A, B, and C, I can get it in now because I think something's about to happen. And his mortgage completes next month, as in he's a remortgage. His new rate's going to start next month on 3.9%. Now, the best rates out there at the moment are still 4.5% plus, and over a 5-year fix, which is what they went for, that's going to save him $9,500. Now, the difference there was just me going, look, just stop being a div. Okay. Yes, you're busy, but essentially, if you can find an hour today, it's going to save you thousands of pounds. Do you want to work 1 hour's work for $2,000? Yes. Okay, cool. I'll do it. But actually, it turns out it's going to be way more because it got things went up a lot more than we thought. So there's all that sort of future value as well from having relationships with anyone. And I think that kind of feeds into Dad Lassalle in terms of, you don't know who you're going to meet. You don't know it might be a friend who helps you out one day. It might be someone you help one day on a personal level. It might be a professional that you need help from. It might just, there's some Dad Lassalles that I've met who I'm going to go cycling with soon. So there's, I wouldn't have known them if it wasn't for this organisation. So, it's not just, I guess, my sort of business is, relationships are really important, but relationships away from work, which Dad Lassalle has given lots of people as well, is such a good thing. Just knowing who to speak to and when and how and stuff like that.
It really is important. And as you say, future value comes in all sorts of measurements, and it could be, cold hard cash, or it could be having these opportunities. You go to these events and you talk to these people, and then you end up going cycling with them, or going on holiday with them, or starting a business with them, as I'm sure some people might well have done. And that's the kind of future. That's building the community and building those relationships. And in order to help us keep doing that, you have also been very generously giving us a percentage of what you take as well.
Yeah. It wasn't. So organically, kind of, for me being part of Dad Lassalle, people would say, I need a plumber, I need this, I need that. A few people asked about mortgage brokers, and naturally it got round, this is what I do. And then more and more people would sort of, if someone else needed one, other people might pop up within the organisation and say, oh, he helped me, or this is the person. So it wasn't much of a leap for me to say, actually, you know what, if anyone from Dad Lassalle uses Springate Mortgages, then a percentage of any of that revenue can go back to Dad Lassalle. Because that's what it is. It's giving back rather than just giving. Because Dad Lassalle do so much for families, dads, not myself, everyone really. It was. And we're almost at the first half of this year, and there's going to be another £500 coming Dad Lassalle's way from Springate Mortgages, and that gets the total to, I think, £1,500 from when we first started last January. So it's something I'm proud of, but it's also something that Dad Lassalle definitely deserve. And long may it continue, really.
Yeah, well, absolutely. It works for everyone, right? So before we finish, have you got any advice? If anyone is out there like thinking, I want to move house, or I want to buy my first house, or something like that, what would you say? What do people need to do right now to make life as easy as possible for themselves?
I think just plan ahead. Just start the conversation ASAP. There is no such thing as planning too far ahead when it comes to buying property, and that's buying your first one or moving. I spoke to someone 2 days ago who's not looking to buy for a year, but they've just started a business, and the conversation was like, how much do I need to declare? How much do I need to earn? If you're trying to move, for example, it's often a case of, let's work out how much equity you've got on your home. Then I'm going to tell them to go get their house valued, and then so we know what sort of stuff, and then we can work out, right, with these parts I think you can get here, and all this sort of stuff. So doing things in the wrong order can be quite detrimental, or just waiting. The amount of people who have waited till they want to do something and then spoke to a mortgage broker and found out it's not possible, or found out they need to do a few other things. So if you start that conversation and it happens to be too early, that's not a problem. You know, you're just getting your ducks in a line. So I would say just anyone that's interested in buying a property or moving or anything like that, speak to an expert like myself, someone like me, and it doesn't matter if you're planning a month ahead or a year ahead. You know, there's no downside really.
Great. How can people find out more about what you do?
So Springate Mortgages, we're on, you know, we've got a website on Google, we've got an Instagram, which is a bit dormant at the moment because I'm a bit lazy with that. Of course, I'm regularly involved in Dadless Soul events and on the WhatsApp group and stuff like that. But yeah, the best way to find me is probably just Googling Springate Mortgages and you'll come straight through.
But don't come and ask you about rashes. That's not your.
That's not me. No. That was your doctor example, which was spot on, really. Yeah.
Same as me. I will not look at your rash. Please don't ask. It's a phrase I've never said before, but no, I quite enjoy it. Jonathan Smith from Springate Mortgages. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Jim.